Hey everyone, blah blah blah. Hurndig, big hammer. This is the man right here. Short, strong. This is the guy who will take your account to new heights if you fuse them. I hope you did, because he is an amazing champion that basically does a lot of things. So he comes in at very many different areas in the game, which for any free-to-play player, that is absolutely amazing, right? The more champions you can have that are versatile, the better. And so I decided I would make this video. He is I mean, all my champions are very important, especially Ninja, which was a given, but he's definitely my top three most important, at least, for my account. So I decided I would make a video on him, on how he's built and what I have him doing, so that you guys can also do the same and take advantage of the champion. I'm very tired right now. I don't know if you can tell. It's gonna be a rough video to make because it's at night time. I had to wait the whole day because there was construction work, and now I'm sleepy, and here we are. I have to do this today because it's the day the dwarf faction is open. Anyways, let's go over the skills real quick. This is a simple single target A1, but it grants him an extra turn and decreases the cooldown of his A3 if it kills an enemy. It has a 4 times attack multiplier, so very solid amount of damage, which facilitates that you do get the bonus effect, right? It's easier to kill people with a higher multiplier, obviously. And then we have the AoE A2, which is very nice. It's basically a decreased defense champion, but also decreased accuracy. Books up to 100%. Minus 1 cooldown goes to 3 turns, which is really, really good. It basically stays out there permanently, especially if you're boosting up his speed with your Hikatunes and Arbiters and Seals. On top of that, it has a 4.4 damage multiplier, which is very solid, especially with his base attack that I'm going to show you in a second. And then we have his A3, which is, I mean, I was going to say it's the best part of his kit, but what makes him good is that his entire kit combined together is insane, so I'm not even going to say that, never mind. It does two things. First off, it attacks one enemy that you target, fully depletes their turn meter, which is basically a 100% turn meter reduction, by the way. It is not really full turn meter depletion, and what I mean by that is turn meter in this game can absolutely go above 100%, in case you guys didn't know, so it's not going to reduce over 100%. It's just a 100% reduction, to be clear. And then after that first hit, which is a 6.2 attack multiplier, by the way, it's an insane amount of damage, he will then follow it up with an AoE so long as the first hit is critical, which obviously you're going to build him with crit, so he's always going to do the 2 hits. This AoE attack has 75% chance of placing Weaken, and will also place an HP burn for 2 turns on enemies whose turn meter are below 30% at the time of the attack. So this books to 100%. Very good champion to book. I would strongly suggest you book him because it makes his cooldowns way lower and it makes everything 100%. And it also makes his skill way better. So by making his A3 be a 4-turn cooldown, whenever you use it, and then the next turn you get to kill someone with A1, it basically resets the cooldown entirely. And that's thanks to the double books that reduce the cooldown twice. Now, there's a lot of things you can do with this skill. He has decreased defense and decreased weaken in his kit, as well as decreased accuracy, which is great for things like Doom Tower and bosses, and even Hydra, by the way. This is a good Hydra champion for sure. But not only that, if you want to make use of his HP burn, you can speed tune him correctly for Spider, for example, and he can absolutely be your HP burn champion, and for Hydra as well. So he just does a lot, and his stats are very good, which we're going to get into. We also have his passive, which is mostly good for Arena, but it's helpful everywhere, really. Fills the champion turn meter by 10% every time they are hit. Also fills their turn meter by 20% whenever an ally dies. And then he has a ally attack, Arena Aura, which is really cool, 35%. Although unfortunately it doesn't get much use, right? Because everybody is using this aura, obviously, so who cares, really? So we're gonna get onto his sets, I guess, first off. Perception is your friend. I already said this today in my previous video about the campaign farming, which, by the way, pair your Hurndig with a Seal, and you can absolutely use the both of them to go all the way through Nightmare campaign to finish that off. I made a video on that earlier, so something I already mentioned in that video is that perception set is absolutely amazing because it gives you 40 accuracy per set, same as this blue one right here, except it also gives you a 5% speed on top, and it's craftable, so it's going to be very useful for you to be able to fit accuracy into these champions. You can see here I have an attack percentage chest. I put his crit rate up to 100%, so lots of crit rate substats is what we're looking for in these pieces. Crit damage gloves, Also crit rate percentage here and some speed, which is important. Not speed boots, actually. I make sure to give him a bunch of damage, so I basically sacrifice his speed to be able to give him both a lot of damage and accuracy at the same time. And then I use champions to compensate, right? Champions that boost his turn meter, basically. And also speed substats if I can, so he has a lot of speed substats here. But as you can see, crit rate is what I'm looking for. Defense is not bad because he has really high base defense, as you can see here, 1.1. So any percentage defense increase is actually not wasted on the champion. It is actually kind of important for you to build him relatively tanky because once he gets hit for the passive, you're going to be able to make use of the turn meter, assuming he doesn't just die. So that's why you need the defense. Here I have an HP ring. His HP just wasn't high enough and the attack is already at a good spot, so there's something I like doing. Obviously, this probably can be replaced at this point. I have other rings here to level, a bunch of things that I'm sitting on because of the fusion. I'm waiting for the artifact enhancement. And then here's something I like doing, by the way, guys. Instead of giving these attack champions crit damage necklaces, what I like doing is giving them attack necklaces or defense necklaces, depending on what type of damage they do, with a substat crit damage, because here's the thing. This is a crit damage necklace, and it gives you 40%. That's it. So I would get an extra 16% crit damage, but I would be losing 265 attack. So actually, I think it's more efficient for you to use whatever is the multiplier for damage for your champion as the main stat of your necklace, and then the crit damage below. And if you can get a triple roll like this, it's very good. That's something I started doing. Maybe it's not better, but I like to think it is. Then banner, of course, accuracy banner, so you can push that accuracy even more along with the perception stats. So that's what I have on him. And now we get to the actual sum of the stats. He has 31k HP, which is pretty decent for a nuker. 4.2k attack, which is very solid. That's pretty much where you want your nuker to be. 3.5 to 4k, basically. 2.3k defense, which again, pretty solid. Makes sure he can get a couple hits and make use of his passive instead of just outright dying. And then his speed is very decent considering he doesn't have speed boots actually. 174 is pretty solid. Sometimes I have a couple champions with speed boots that don't get this much, so it's not like fast by any means, but again, since I am using attack percentage boots, this is pretty good speed. 100% crit rate, very important. I used to have, I think, 96% crit rate, and you guys would be shocked at the amount of crits that I actually missed in Arena. And it's especially bad on this champion if you don't have 100% crit rate, because if your A3 doesn't crit, you're not going to get the follow-up AoE. So really make sure that you fit in 100% here, no matter how annoying it is. And then your crit damage, you want it to be 200% or higher ideally. So a number between 200 and 250% for crit damage is very solid for nukers in general. So 210 is acceptable. And then the accuracy is very high, 320 basically, thanks to all the perception pieces and also the accuracy banner and the accuracy substats. So like I said, ton of damage, right? 4.2k attack, 210% crit damage, and then 320 accuracy. Very good hybrid build, so we can make use of all his debuffs, which are all very cool, very important, and I'm basically going to be showing you guys, as well as do a ton of damage at the same time. And now moving on to his masteries, which is the last thing I have to show you before we get to any actual content. It's basically just the typical nuker stuff, right? We have crit rate here, we have crit damage, and then we have Whirlwind of Death to make up for some of his low speed, since he doesn't have speed boots, again. Important point to remember. Ruthless Ambush, very good for Arena, and you know, just the game in general. Opportunist, again, also very good for Arena, because I'm using him in there with Ninja's Freeze. So what's nice about this, by the way, is that you deal 10% less damage to targets who are frozen. So Opportunist basically nullifies your damage reduction once you're using Freeze, and it gives you an extra 2% damage on top. So very good mastery to run if you're doing stuns and Freeze. Make sure you do more damage. Cycle of Violence, so you can even like furthermore reset his abilities outside of the A1 kills. But then we have Kill Streak and Helm Smasher, which is the Ignore Defense Mastery. And over here, you can just go for a bunch of accuracy stuff, doesn't really matter. I gave him Exalt in Death because he has plenty accuracy right now, and this one's good for Faction Wars, among other things. I did give him the turn meter increase when the debuffs are removed or expired, and he has Evil Eye, as well as Master Hexer, so his debuffs can, you know, be placed for 3 turns instead of 2, potentially, which is very good. Now the first thing I want to show you is we're going to jump straight into Arena because it's the most exciting place, right? Arena is fun, everybody likes seeing it. So hopefully I'm faster here, okay? Looks like I'm barely faster, I might have some issues. I'm basically using double turn meter into the Ninja Freeze. Let's see what happens. They did cutting line, okay, but I get the freeze out there. Now, if Hurndig gets to go here, I can show you something that's nice already. Okay, he didn't get to go, but it's fine. Basically, one of the big reasons Hurndig is so good in Arena, I think I'll get to show it off here. Okay, perfect. So, as you see, Madame Ceres is about to go and ruin my day, right? So instead of using DA2, I can just go for DA3, and either A, she's gonna die, because the single target hit does 6.2 attack multiplier in terms of damage, which is insane, I want to reiterate. Not to mention I have Arbiter's attack buff, which is boosting me up to about 5k attack right now. So it's 5k times 6.2 plus my crit damage. If she doesn't die, which she probably will, her turn meter will be reset, and I won't have to deal with her annoying things. See, she had high resist actually, really high resist, because remember, this guy has 320 accuracy, or maybe that was the 3% chance that you always have to get resisted, which is an absolutely stupid mechanic, by the way. I don't know why it's the thing in this game. But regardless of what it was, she resisted, but she died because it's a ton of damage. And there we go, just like that, we don't have to deal with that threat anymore. Let me find another thing, maybe this one. This is basically why he's so good in Arena. He either erases a champion or controls them by reducing their turn meter. And it's especially good like this. I'm gonna do the freeze, so everybody's frozen. And now, while they're frozen, I can go for the A3 and reset her turn meter all the way back down if she didn't die. And then her turn meter bar would have to fill twice for her to be able to play the game. It would fill up once, then the freeze would run out, and then it would have to fill up again. So Hurndig, very good. She goes very well. She, not a woman. He goes very well together with any other control, because you can do basically what I'm doing. Right on top of the speed, on top of the freeze, on top of the stun, I meant. So on top of the stun, on top of the freeze, you can just go and reduce your turn meter even further, and you can use the skill to focus key champions. Now remember, he's not even using Savage, he can do way more damage than this, but I really like to prioritize his debuffs, and I use them in a lot of places. So right here, the problem is if I kill Astralaw on the left, he's just going to get revived by Arbiter, so we're better off killing Arbiter here, or reducing her turn meter. I have decreased attack on me, I got my increased attack purged, so not doing the highest amount of damage right now, but that was still a very solid hit. Hopefully we can reduce some turn meter here with my Haikutun, which is also the reason why she's here. Oh, and I'm dead. Yeah, I mean, that's just Arena, right? That is the life of Arena, as we all know. Rotos didn't get frozen, so we're gonna go ahead and murder him with Hurndig. Again, very useful, he's just gonna get deleted. And keep in mind, guys, I'm not running decreased defense on this team, I don't know if you noticed, right? So, if you guys, for example, replace this Haikatun with a champion that does decreased defense, he would be hitting way harder. My team just prioritizes control. I'm basically going for the double TM boost because I'm trying to prevent this from happening, right? Arena is basically a speed battle, and when they cut in front of me like that, I get in so much trouble. As we all do, mostly. This looks like a very tough team. I think I can get to show you guys his A1 here, because they are very tanky. Not right now, of course, because that's not going to kill anybody. I should A2. Right there, you can see a good chunk of damage, even though they didn't have decreased defense on them. Now they do. He sets himself up too, that's the thing. Depending on what happens, like, you don't always have to start with his A3, by the way, but usually it's the right choice. If you start with his A2, you're basically setting up his A3, which does a huge amount of damage, to go on top of the decreased defense afterwards. So he can absolutely set himself up as well. And I think I'll finally get to show you here. Even though I have decreased attack, I should be able to kill him. That's going to give me an extra turn, and it's going to reset my skills. Look at that. This is great. And now I can just target Volgov. Obviously, not a whole lot of damage because I was under decreased attack, unfortunately. But Arbiter is going to buff us up again. Volgov's about to die, which is going to be all kinds of great. I'll try to reduce her speed. Didn't really proc, it's fine. I'm going to do it again here. As you can see, his A3 was on a 3-turn cooldown, and now it's available. It's amazing. This is how good he is. And no weak hit, perfect, even though it was the wrong affinity, so there we go. That's it for the arena part. That's all I had to show you guys. How good his A3 is to focus the specific champions, either to outright kill them, reduce their turn meter, and how good his A1 is for resetting. Next place we're jumping to his campaign. Like I told you guys, you can use him and Sil together to go all the way to Nightmare campaign, but he can also be your 12-3 Brutal Farmer very easily. Duke's actually faster than him here because I built him for Hydra, but That's not really gonna change anything on what I have to show you guys. Basically, he just gets here, he nukes everything, and then he uses his A1 to reset and do another nuke. So very clear and cut case. He's not the fastest farmer because his animations are very slow and clunky. So compared to something like a Bellower, you're still better off using the Bellower. But I just can't be bothered to build a campaign farmer when he can do it, and it's not that much slower. So now here we have Faction Wars. He's absolutely huge for Faction Wars as well. I think that's pretty obvious, right? Because he has a big nuke. Now the thing is, I don't really have a proper dwarf team. If I did, he can easily go all the way to 21 as a very useful, very strong champion. So these are all force affinity. I might get some weak hits. Now I'm gonna get controlled a little bit. But the whole point is this champion does a bunch of damage and he can carry you all the way through Faction Wars. The only reason I'm even up this far is because of him. And Melga, of course, but mostly him because Melga doesn't deal any damage. He's all I have for the Dwarf faction. If I had a proper team here, I would be all the way up to 21. And the faction would be beaten easily because he's really strong. His AI is kind of dumb. I think he's gonna A2 here, yep. He usually does stuff like that when there's only one remaining enemy. He will still A2 or A3, by the way, so you guys have to be a little careful. But look at how much damage he dealt right there, right off the bat, with the Ruthless Ambush Mastery, right? Again, just a ton of damage. Even though he's not on Savage or anything, or he doesn't even have anybody setting up to decrease defense for him, his multipliers are high, and his base attack are high enough that he does a ton of damage. So it's only thanks to him that I'm up this far into Faction Wars, because I don't have a team right now. I just don't. Now, the only dungeon I'm going to show you guys is Spider. For the other 3 dungeons, he does what you already saw. He's going to do the same thing he did for Arena and for Faction Wars and the campaign, like I just told you guys. He's going to do all his debuffs to the waves, which are going to help you out a lot. And for Fire Knight, I wouldn't really recommend him because he doesn't do anything against the shield. But one thing that you can use him for is for the turn meter reduction on the A3 if you're starved for an ability that does that. So he can come in there to reduce the Fire Knight's turn meter after you already down his shield. Now, the interesting place that I'm going to show you is Spider. And the reason I'm going to show you here is because, one, he can be your HP burn champion, like I was saying. And two, if you're struggling to manual up the Spider, because that's what you're going to do first, you're only really going to need to set up an auto team by the time you're at stage 20 on the Spider, because that's what you need to do for the Arbiter, right? It's one of the quests. But once you're actually manualing up the Spider, he can be very big for you as a champion. And I'm going to take it off auto, and I'm going to show you why. I know there's a bunch of crazy shit happening right now because I have a really luxurious team for Spider because I pulled 2 Royal Guards and I have a Cold Heart, so they kind of just blow everything up. But as you can see right here, he's going to be very huge for you to reducing the Spider's turn meter, and then he applies the burn on the little Spiders who have less than 30% turn meter, so you can absolutely speed tune that and build a team around, which is going to help you climb the Spider. And this is the main reason why climbing the Spider on manual with Hurndig is way easier, because you're going to see right here as soon as we get a turn again. Again, 3-turn cooldown, right? And he has to be booked to be able to do this. Don't forget. I'm going to kill a Spider with my A1. Then I'm going to get an extra turn. And my A3 will be off cooldown. And I can just use it on the big Spider again. And also apply a bunch of burns to the newly spawned Spiders who didn't have a whole lot of turn meter. So that's a way where you can use your turn meter for Spider if you're struggling to manual up the ladder, where he makes it very easy for you. You just have to go here again. I'm going to do it again. Kill a Spider with the A1. Use the A3 on the Spider. She never gets a turn. A bunch of burns get applied. And then it's an easy Spider at that point. And even for auto, right? For auto too, if you're going to do auto, you just have to figure out the speed tune, basically, which allows your Hurndig. I'm just going to finish it now with my stylish Royal Guard 1.3 mil damage. Very nice. Very happy about it. Crappy ring. I'm going to sell it. But with a correct speed tune, you can use your Hurndig here for the HP burn, even on auto, so long as you have everything built up correctly. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you, and it's perfect that we're in the Fae rotation right now, because the last thing I have to show you, why is this guy here? That is not correct. Okay. The last thing I want to show you is how good his A1 is for conserving skills when you're going through Dune Tower, right? Because you're like, oh man, I need to save my skills for the boss, I need to keep A1ing, but sometimes it's kind of dangerous. Hurndig basically nullifies the danger. You're going to set up a couple of champions like this. As you see, I reduced their HP by using some of the other champions, and some of them have decreased defense on their A1s, and then you just do this. That's another great thing that Hurndig does for you. You just keep like knocking them down like bowling pins. I think that's what it's called in English, right? We might get some weak hits here because it's the wrong affinity, of course. But the point still stands. And this is 120 Fey, by the way. Yeah, I got a weak hit. Very unfortunate. We should be able to have another shot, I think. This is the 120 waves, so it's not that low level. I know it's not on the hard difficulty of Doom Tower, but even for the hard difficulty, he can do much of the same because these waves right before the bosses aren't the most tanky. So again, another weak hit. God damn it. This is the only problem when it's wrong affinity, but so long as you don't get very unlucky, it should be fine. Anyways, if you drop him low enough, even if he gets a weak hit, of course he gets a normal hit now because I was trying to show you. Even if he got a weak hit there, he would have easily killed that guy because he had decreased defense on and low enough HP. And if you guys are curious about how you deal with the Fae, I'm sure most people know at this time, but it's basically an arena battle. It works the same way as arena, where your champions who have the same speed as the enemy champions will go first because they're the one performing the attack. Which means that my apothecary went first, even though they both have the same speed. And then I cut in line with everybody else's turn meter. You want to use some control ability like Ninja. And then you nuke everybody to oblivion. Very easy. Gonna use Hurndig's A2 again here to do some resetting. He has the ring that screws up crits. I hate that ring. I hate that it's in the game, by the way. That's definitely something you have to be careful, which I forgot to mention when I was showing you guys Hurndig in Arena. That's one of his biggest weaknesses that you have to be concerned about. When you use Hurndig's A3 in Arena, to be able to kill them or reduce their turn meter like I showed you guys, if they have that ring and they make it so your A3 doesn't crit, you are absolutely screwed because you're gonna not only waste the ability, you're not gonna get the follow-up AoE because it only happens if it's a crit, right? But that is something I have to warn you guys about. That ring is one of Hurndig's biggest weaknesses, and he is my main nuker, so I guess that's why I hate that goddamn ring so much. To be honest, I don't know why they added it. I think it's stupid. It just adds more RNG to the arena and another like grind requirement of something that you have to have if you want to keep competing at the highest tiers, which is even worse for free-to-play players. I don't know about how you guys feel about that ring. I think it's terrible. I hate it. So be careful about that when you're using Hurndig in Arena, as you saw right there. Either way, the fight should be a breeze now. I'm going to keep reducing her turn meter with Hurndig's A3. As you can see, he's very useful for a ton of other Doom Tower bosses as well, which I'm not going to bother to show guys every single one. I think my point's already made, right? Again, this could be any Doom Tower boss in the game pretty much, and he can go here and he can reduce the turn meter and bring you all the debuffs with all the good stuff that he does. Obviously, you don't want to reduce the turn meter of the Griffin. I think it is. That's the only boss you don't want to reduce the turn meter of, right? If I'm not mistaken. And I think you have to be careful about that green spider's turn meter too, if you're going to reduce that. Because she retaliates or something. But outside of that, his A3 is always going to be very big for bosses in general. There we go, she's dead. We got our Void Shard for the fusion, which is going to be very nice. And if you guys want to farm this, you can just go here, and you can basically do it all over again. You can use your Hurndig to keep A1ing the wave, and then you get to the boss and you do your thing. So he also facilitates Dark Fae farm for Doom Tower. The champion does a lot of good things. In fact, let me show you guys one wave before, so 119 before I go. I'm gonna show you the impact he has on these waves. I do have Sage Hulk setting him up here with the decreased defense. Look how much damage he does. That is absolutely fantastic. And then the other champions are either controlling the waves, so High Katun and Ninja, or they are offering tank ability in the form of my Ursiga right here, which is also bringing me that juicy HP aura, which is very nice. Now, like I said, his AI is kind of dumb. Lots of damage right there, again, really cool. His AI is kind of dumb. He wasted his A3 on the last remaining enemy on the last wave before we came here. But either way, you can see he's going to reset his skills by killing somebody with the A1. He's going to A3 immediately, deal a bunch of damage. This is basically what he does for you in any content wave. So the waves of Dragon, the waves of Ice Golem, the waves of Fire Knight, and also Doom Tower. So that's basically it. Hydra is not really available for me right now because I don't have any keys. It's going to reset for me to show you what he does on Hydra. But I don't really have to, like, it's self-explanatory, right? He brings you a bunch of debuffs for the Hydra, as well as he does 2 AoE hits, which are helpful to hit the Head of Mischief if you don't have Hex out there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. This is my build Hurndig. This is all that he can do. Great champion, very versatile. He can help you pretty much everywhere. Again, I can't stress this enough. If you're struggling to climb up the spider stages, build your Hurndig manual. Get your reset on the A3 by using the A2 on the small spiders, and you're gonna have a pretty easy time of it, except for against Force Affinity, although I did brute force through Force Affinity by using him at a lower stage. So basically that's what I did. You can do it against Force Affinity too. It's just kind of annoying, it's gonna cost you some energy. But anyway, that has been the video. Hopefully it was good. I feel like I was all over the place because I'm tired, like I said, but there he is. That's Hurndig. One of the free legendary fusions that we have. Amazing champion. And I'm gonna head out now.